My name is Lisa. I can now clearly see the line that divides my life in two. The years I spend with the man I once called my husband, and the days I got back on my feet after his selfishness tore me apart. I was in my 9th month of pregnancy. My belly loomed over me like a mountain, and my breath was labored with every step. Still, I got up in the mornings and did every chore around the house, laundry, cooking, shopping, because my ex-husband, David, had left all the responsibilities to me. For him, weekends meant returning to his parents' house. He'd ignore me or the baby in my womb, spending hours with them. Sometimes I'd wonder, why does he still consider himself their child when he lives in the same house as me? The answer was obvious. Because David had never chosen to be a family man. One evening, while she was making dinner, the door opened. She threw her bag and jacket onto the couch. She didn't even say hello, as if I weren't there. "Welcome," I said, knowing desperately that my voice would echo. "I made meatballs. You can eat them while they're still hot." "I'm going to the bathroom," he snapped. We had been married for 3 years, but the love, the attention, the affection, they were long dead. Sometimes I'd look in the mirror and ask myself, if this is what marriage is, what am I in for? That night after dinner, he turned to me and asked, "Where's the beer?" "I forgot. I'll get it tomorrow," I said. Suddenly, his face tightened and his voice rose. "Now go get it. It's easy to sit around with your big belly and forget. What fun will it bring me?" Anger welled up inside me. "Go away yourself. Don't you see how hard it is for me to even walk?" But there was not a single drop of empathy in her eyes. "This is your job. My mother always said pregnant women need to exercise, not get used to being lazy. Get up." At that moment, I felt my pride being trampled. Still, I didn't want to start a fight. I quietly put on my coat and went to the store. On the way, I ran into my neighbor, Sarah. She had a small bag in her hand and said with a smile, "I'm out of sauce. I came to get it." She immediately noticed the tiredness on my face. "Lisa, what are you doing at this hour?" "David wanted a beer," I said, averting my eyes. "You're kidding," Sarah said, her voice a mix of surprise and anger. "Sending a pregnant woman to the market?" Tears welled up in my eyes at that moment, because I felt like someone truly saw me. I nodded silently. "I'm used to it." When I got home, David was sprawled in front of the TV. "Why did you take so long? Give me that beer," he snapped. I put the bag down in front of him and didn't say a word. There was a part of me that wanted to scream, but I kept quiet because every fight was wearing me out a little more. That night, I ate my own dinner alone. She continued to compare me to her mother's cooking. You still haven't learned how to cook. This wouldn't have happened if I had my mother. It was as if my existence was always missing in his eyes. The next morning, she dressed as if nothing had happened and went to work. She turned to me and said, "What's with that face? A woman should show some gratitude. Let's have dinner, ready for dinner," and slammed the door. I felt my inner patience crack, but I was still holding on because my baby was due in a few weeks, and I wanted only one thing: to prepare a safe home for my little one. But David's indifference grew more and more each day. One evening, he said, "I'm going out for drinks. You don't need to cook." I made myself a small plate. Hours passed, and he returned. He was drunk. He collapsed on the floor. I tried to pick him up, but he shouted, "Take your hands off me. I don't want to see your ugly face." Those words sank deep into my heart. Ugly face. The fatigue of pregnancy, my swollen face, my heart suffocated by a lack of affection. At that moment, I felt like an invisible shadow, not a woman. But a silent vow arose within me. One day, I will make you pay for every time you crushed me like this. As the days passed, my body grew heavier, but my heart grew lighter. My ex-husband became more and more alienated each day, becoming nothing more than a stranger in the house. One day he turned to me and said, "We're going on a family vacation next week," as if nothing had happened. I looked up. "David, our baby is due next week. How about a vacation?" Don't exaggerate. Pregnancy is not an illness. My parents want to come with us, too. For 2 nights, 3 days, prepare. At that moment, a scream broke out from inside me, but only a short sentence came out of my lips. "I don't want to go." He rolled his eyes, his voice hard as ice. "Your opinion matters. Pack your bags. Period." That day, even the kicks of the baby in my womb couldn't console me because his father was carelessly disregarding him even before he was born. And then that cursed morning came. As I got into the car, I felt a strange warmth in my legs. When I looked down, I realized my water had broken. "David," I said in panic, "my water broke. We need to go to the hospital now." He let go of the steering wheel, looked at me, and then made a disgusted face. "You can't give birth in a car. Don't make a mess here. Get off." "Are you crazy?" "This can't be a joke," I screamed. But he grabbed my arm and pushed me towards the door. "Mind your own business. My family vacation won't be ruined." And with the sound of the engine, he disappeared. At that moment, I felt like all my hopes were shattered. I was left stranded in the middle of the asphalt with my baby moving in my belly. But God sent me Sarah. "Lisa," she called out suddenly. She came running to me from the next apartment. "Oh my God, is she in labor?" I couldn't hold back my tears. "Yes, David left me." Sarah looked into my eyes and took my hands. "Don't be afraid. I'm with you." In that moment, he became more than a stranger to me. He was a friend, a savior, a brother. He called his car and, holding my hand tightly, drove me to the hospital. He rubbed my belly and whispered in my ear the entire way, "Take a deep breath, Lisa. You are strong. You will hold on for your baby." I arrived at the hospital without ambulance sirens, but with another siren echoing in my heart, the siren of betrayal. After hours of pain, my daughter's cries brought tears to my eyes. Sarah, my mother, and my father were at my bedside. David was gone, and now I realized that his absence wasn't a loss, but a relief. But things didn't end there. My phone kept vibrating, hundreds of missed calls, dozens of messages, all from David. There were no pleas in the messages. There were insults. "You have no right to make me go through this disgrace. Everyone is laughing at me. It's all because of you." I sat up in bed, drenched in sweat, and read the messages. At that moment, I realized something. The only thing that mattered to him was his reputation being damaged. He wasn't thinking about me or his baby. He was thinking only about his own image. But the real blow came on social media. A friend of mine came to me and handed me his phone. "Lisa, look, did you see this video?" On screen was the moment I was pushed out of the car and fell to the ground. My face was blurry, but David's voice was crystal clear. I said, "Don't dirty the car, get out." Someone who filmed the video shared the incident on social media. It garnered thousands of comments, fueled by outrage. David's name, the company he worked for, and even his family were exposed. At that moment, for the first time, my heart felt a little lighter, because justice was coming slowly but relentlessly. Sarah sat down next to me and looked into my eyes. "Lisa, this is just the beginning. You are not alone anymore. He will answer for what he did." What I felt when she held my hand wasn't just friendship, it was power, a woman's power, and that power whispered to me, "You will no longer be just a mother, but the master of your own revenge." Even before I left the hospital, news notifications had started arriving on my phone. David's name was being circulated on social media as the shameful husband hashtag. People shared the video repeatedly with headlines like, "Man abandons wife on way to have baby." Nurses would sneak up on me in the hospital corridor and say, "Get well soon. We think you're very strong." For the first time, I held my head upright, which I had once bowed in shame. But David wouldn't give up. He kept sending me text after text. "Who spread this video? You? I'm going to lose my job. It's all your fault. If you don't come back to me, I will take you to court." Whenever I saw those messages, a bitter smile appeared on my lips because I was no longer afraid. One evening, when I was alone in my room, my mother sat quietly next to me. "My daughter," she said, "it's time to get rid of this man. The only way to raise your baby in peace is through a divorce." My father clenched his fist. "If I had put you through what he put you through, you would have buried me long ago, but don't worry. This time he will get his comeuppance." And at that moment, I made my decision. I was going to get a divorce. Sarah became the shadow hero of this process. One evening, she came in with a file in hand. "My husband is the boss at your ex-wife's company. He saw the video. Should I tell you? He went crazy. He doesn't want someone who tramples on family values around him." David lost his job. A stone fell from my heart when I heard that sentence. "Did you lose your job?" Sarah winked. "And this is just the beginning." At that moment, an indescribable satisfaction spread through me. Because I hadn't done anything, the truth was finding its own justice. But I couldn't settle for that. I needed a lawyer. An old friend of my father's stepped in. He was a strong, even-tempered man. After sitting across from me at the table and reviewing my file, he turned to me and said, "This man abandoned you while you were pregnant. There's evidence on social media. There are witnesses. You will emerge from this case with flying colors. You will have a divorce, compensation, and custody." His words lit a light inside me. A few days later, the lawyer sent David the official notice. The answer came immediately. "I don't accept the divorce. I don't want the child, but I won't give you my money either. You're playing tricks on me." Our lawyer shrugged with a calm smile. "Classic criminal psychology. Don't worry. He's already lost." During this process, David's family also stepped in. My mother-in-law was yelling at me on the phone. How could you disgrace my son? We've become everyone's talking point. Save us from this shame. As I held the phone in my hand, the only thought running through my mind was, you're paying the price for all the pressure you've put on me over the years. This is just the beginning. At the time, David's company closed doors to him. He couldn't repay his bank loans. His name was circulating on social media like a nightmare. One day, Sarah texted me, "You know, people even turned their backs on his mother in the supermarket. Now they too are tainted in the eyes of society." When I heard that news, I burst out laughing because without me doing anything, the world was closing in on him. But it still wasn't over. David called me one last time. His voice was tinged with anger and pleading. "Lisa, please come back. I'm unemployed. I have no home. But I can't live without you. People have turned their backs on me. Save me. We're still husbands, right?" At that moment, the woman inside me rose to her feet. I was no longer a dejected, pregnant woman. I was a mother who had been oppressed her entire life, but ultimately stood tall. I answered in a calm voice, "No, David, we're not old man anymore. You're just a mistake I made in the past, and I won't carry the mistakes with me into my life." "You can't do this to me," she shouted. But I had already hung up the phone. For the first time, I felt at peace, because the sweetest form of revenge was watching the enemy go down by his own hand. When the trial day arrived, my heart pounded like a drum in my chest. But this time, not from fear, but from the footsteps of victory. When I walked through the living room door, I saw David so thin for the first time. His shirt was wrinkled, his beard unkempt, his eyes bloodshot. Next to him were his mother and father, both of whom had bowed their heads, ashamed. Those people who had pressured me for years to serve the family and keep quiet had now become shadows. While the judge was reviewing the files, my lawyer stood up. "Your Honor," he said in a calm but firm voice, "my client was thrown out of the house by her husband while she was pregnant. And instead of being taken to the hospital when she went into labor, she was pushed out of the car. There are videos and witness to the incident. This is not only domestic violence, it is also a violation of human dignity." David suddenly jumped to his feet. "It's all a lie. It's all a fabrication. I just didn't want my car to get dirty." A murmur spread through the hall. People turned their heads. Condescending smiles tugged at the corners of their lips. The judge frowned. "Don't let my car get dirty," he repeated. Even then, everyone realized how small and pathetic he was. When it was my turn, I took a deep breath at the podium. I said, learned how much a woman and a mother can endure in life. The man I called my husband, instead of protecting me, left me on the street. He disregarded the life of our unborn child, and in all of this, he showed not the slightest remorse. I am not his wife anymore. I am simply a mother who demands justice. At that moment, my eyes welled up with tears. But my voice didn't tremble because I wasn't crying. I was demanding an explanation. The judge closed the files and announced his decision. The divorce request has been accepted. Custody has been granted to the plaintiff's mother. The father is obligated to pay regular alimony. Additionally, a non-pecuniary damages order will be implemented. David sank into his chair. His mother covered his face with her hands. His father bowed his head in anger. I smiled silently because the tear I'd suppressed for years had now given way to the salty taste of victory. After the hearing, my lawyer turned to me and said, "You were a very strong woman. You won this case." But I knew deep down I hadn't won this battle alone. I had my mother, my father, Sarah, and the motherly strength within me. David's decline accelerated. He had already lost his job. The video of him was still circulating online. No one trusted him. No one wanted to be around him. He was desperately working short-term jobs, then getting fired. The man who had once looked up to me had now fallen to the bottom of society. You know what? Even in our tiny town, his name is a laughingstock now. People call him the guy who threw his wife out so his car wouldn't get dirty, Sarah said to me one day, sipping her coffee. I nodded. There could be no fairer punishment than that. And indeed he was, for the law had fined him, but society had placed an invisible mark on him. For him, life was now an eternal exile. Months passed. My baby was growing. Every smile was a new beginning for me. As I looked at those tiny fingers, I kept thinking, from now on, I'll live for you. I'll never leave you alone. One day, I stopped by Sarah's house. She greeted me and my baby at the door and hugged us like we were family. There were fresh flowers on the table and a bowl of fruit next to it. You gave me my life back, I told him. Sarah smiled. No, Lisa, you were already strong. I just stood by you. At that moment, an indescribable peace spread through me because I was no longer alone. Looking back today, my ex-husband was nothing more than a mistake. But that mistake shaped me into the woman I am today, a strong, independent, and vengeful mother. Yes, I'm a widow now, but for me, this word isn't a deficiency, it's a title, because I've lost not only my wife, but also my chains. And I took my revenge. I've opened a new chapter in my life with my daughter. Every smile she makes reminds me, whatever everyone did in the past, we were the real winners.